This will be an example of creating a value scale using the 4-directional shading technique. So the first one, I want to try to apply very light pressure. So sometimes it helps to hold your pencil way back near the eraser so that a lot of pressure is not on your pencil point. I'm going to start by choosing one of the 4 directions, and as best as I can, we're not worried about neatness, so you can go outside of the box. This is just a practice, an exercise in applying pressure to create values. I'm going to work in one direction using a light pressure. And then, for the sake of keeping my hand comfortable while shading, I am turning the page, and I'm going to try to use the same amount of pressure. And again, I'm moving on to a second direction to fill in the box. And then I'll move on to my third direction. Again, trying to use the same amount of pressure. What you will notice is that the value does slightly darken each time you apply a direction. And that is because paper is made up of several fibers. And when you use the 4-directional technique, your pencil point is hitting on certain fibers that are sticking up in certain directions. So the more you go over an area with pencil, the more of those fibers getting filled in with graphite, which causes less of the white paper to show through. So there's the light value. Now I'm going to increase pressure, and I'm going to create a medium value. So just like with my light value, position of my pencil point is important. So if I move my fingers a little bit closer to the pencil point, I can apply more pressure to that pencil point, which then causes more graphite to wear off onto the paper. Again, I will move the paper so my hand is comfortable while shading. And not only in value scales, but even when you work on a project and you're applying shading, don't be afraid to move your paper around so that you can get a more accurate shading technique. So right now, it's definitely a little bit darker than my light one. And I'm going to apply my third direction. And finally, my fourth direction. So again, I try to keep my pressure even. I can always go back and darken a value if needed, but you never want to erase to lighten a value. So there's a light and a medium, and now I'm going to try for a dark. So again, I am moving my fingers closer to my pencil point so that I have more pressure on the pencil tip as I fill in the 4 directions. So there is an example of a 4-directional shading technique creating a 3-step value scale. And we call them steps because there's a very distinct separation of value. Light, you see where it begins and ends. Medium, you see where it begins and ends. And dark, you see where it begins and ends.